Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. September is National Reading New Book Month, a celebration of fresh stories, new voices, and the joy of turning the page into a world we've never entered before. It's also the perfect reminder of how much work, passion, and creativity goes into bringing a new book to life. Today, I'm joined by Michele Defilipo, a publishing veteran with more than 50 years of experience. Michelle runs 1106 Design, a company dedicated to helping authors publish top quality books without giving away their rights or royalties. She's the author of Publish Like the Pros, and her mission is simple but powerful: empower authors to take control of their work, produce professional level books, and earn more from their creative efforts. Whether you're a reader, an aspiring author, or someone curious about how books come to life, Michelle has a wealth of knowledge to share. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. I appreciate your having me.
Yeah, did I get the pronunciation of the company correct?
It's 1106
I
Design.
thought as much. Well, I was like,
That's
1,100. It's 1106.
no worries.
Yeah, okay. September is National Reading New Book Month. What does this celebration mean to you, both as a publisher and as a lifelong book lover?
Well, gosh, I mean, I've spent my whole career making books in one form or another. First as a typesetter, and then as the owner of a design business, the current business, 1106 Design. So I love books in all of their forms. It's been an interesting career because it changes all the time, and the changes now are even accelerating beyond what used to be considered normal with the introduction of AI. So it's just always been exciting, never boring, and that's what I love about working in the book world. And as a reader, books are wonderful. They open up the whole world to us, right? And it might be as simple as just one sentence that can change the life of the reader. So I can't think of anything more important to be involved in.
Yeah. Well, why do you think it's important for readers to intentionally pick up new books and for writers to keep bringing new ones into the world? Because at some point, people, it feels like, oh, I mean, there's so many books already. Is there any need to write another book and put another book in the world?
Absolutely, because no two authors are the same, right? You may be writing about a subject that many others before you have written about, but only you can do it from your perspective. And that's why when you go to Amazon, you'll see 10,000 books on every subject, but each author has their own perspective. And that's what you need to share is your take on the subject. It's true that nobody wants to read a book that's exactly like someone else's book,
Yeah.
but if you work at it and you make sure that you have something unique to say and something more helpful than you've been able to find yourself on the subject before, it's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah. Well, one of the key phrases you mentioned is most authors don't realize that they can be their own publisher. Could you explain what true
Yes.
self-publishing looks like?
Yes. Self-publishing pretty much started about 25 years ago. And at the beginning, it was understood that self-publishing meant that the author was the publisher. In other words, they didn't have to get any other company's permission to produce the book. They didn't have to work with people who wanted to change their book message in any way. They were in charge now. And by taking on the responsibility of hiring the experts to produce the book, they could not only control the process, control the message, but they would then earn all of the royalties when a book was sold rather than just what another publisher would be willing to pay them. So at the beginning, that was an earthquake in the book industry, and it went on very well for a few years. But then the message started to get more complicated, and publishers started to come into the space again, but not in a good way. Now, a traditional publisher does not charge the author to produce the book. The author does nothing, right?
Yeah.
The author does nothing. The author does nothing but contribute the manuscript. The publisher takes all the responsibility, pays all the expenses, and then when a book is sold, the publisher keeps most of the money in order to recoup its investment. That's fair. That's ordinary business. But the publishers that are in the space now charge the author to produce the book, And they also take much of the revenue from sales when a book is sold. So that doesn't work out too well for the author.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why I like to talk about it on these podcasts. There is the original way to self-publish, which is for the author to hire a firm like mine, an author services company, to help you produce that great book you want to produce. But we don't take a penny of your revenue from sales.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation. What would you say are the three main publishing models? I mean, in my brain, I know, okay, there's the self-publishing and then there's the traditional publishing.
Okay, so the third
Okay.
model is between those two options, right? And sometimes they're called self-publishing companies, sometimes they're called hybrid publishers, sometimes they just call themselves publishers without defining it in any way. They might say that they're independent publishers. But the key difference is that unlike a traditional publisher, they charge the author to produce the book, and then they also take money out of the author's pocket when that book sells. So that's not beneficial to the author. Now, I want to be fair. There are some good hybrid publishers. For example, some hybrid publishers may charge the author to produce the book, and then the hybrid publisher will pay for marketing. And then in return for that investment, they will get a portion of the royalties from the book sale. That's also perfectly fair, right? That's a true partnership. But what authors need to watch out for is the publishers who charge the author for everything, and they have no investment whatsoever in the book, and yet they're still sharing the author's profit.
How should an author decide which of the paths to take?
Well, traditional publishing, it's not the author's decision. The author can apply to a traditional publisher, and the decision is purely on the publisher's part whether or not to accept that manuscript. So self-publishing, anybody can do it. But again, the field has become a little bit complicated because now there's this whole do-it-yourself message that has taken hold. And a book is not a do-it-yourself project. It takes training and experience to create a good book, just like any other line of work. You have to know what you're doing. So the do-it-yourself approach is completely wrong. But if authors hire experts to produce a good book, then I think the best of the three models is true self-publishing the way it was originally intended.
You mentioned that a lot of beginners they just do a completely, what's the word, unprofessional work out there. What are some of the common first time mistakes you notice that authors make when they publish their book?
Well, mostly, I can describe it in two ways. There's really two approaches to self-publishing. One is the business approach, and the other is the hobbyist approach. Now, if you're publishing a book for your own entertainment and just to share with friends and family, it's okay to perhaps do some of the tasks yourself and not spend a whole lot of money because you don't have the ability to make back those costs, right? The problem happens when you want to sell your book to the public, but you don't produce a good book. And now you're asking people to turn over their hard-earned money for a book that's amateur quality. And that's really where things go terribly wrong because buyers of any product or service understand quality and they get really mad when they don't get it.
And since we're talking about professional and amateur, since you've worked on thousands of books, what would you say separates a professional looking book from one that feels amateurish?
Well, again, just bring in the proper experts, right? Every book has to be edited by an editor. I don't care how much writing you've done in your career. You need that fresh pair of eyes to look at the text and find the things that you can't see in your own writing. And famous authors like Stephen King and the Pope all have editors. So don't think that you don't need an editor. That's newbie mistake number one. The next mistake is to, if you intend to sell your book again, now let me be clear about that. The next mistake is not to hire design professionals to design not only the cover, but the interior. A lot of people don't budget enough for that because they will maybe find somebody on Fiverr, or they'll try to use a program themselves to lay out the interior of the book. And again, it's not done in the same way that a professional would do it. And so it tends to be, the books I've seen tend to be rather bland and boring. They look something like a book, but they're
Yeah,
not designed, right? So it makes a difference. You have to do right by your reader. You have to give them a good experience. And if you don't,
yeah.
they're going to
You know,
punish
a
you
lot
with
of
bad reviews.
authors, they've hired persons. You mentioned Fiverr, and the result they get, sometimes they're like, well, if I had done it myself, what I would have gotten would have been way better. It wouldn't have been perfect, but it would have been better. And so for me, the question is, how do we, they're doing it for the first time, the first time authors, they've never done this before. How do they go about finding people who actually know what they are doing in terms of designing the book, editing the book, and it's not just someone who, I wouldn't want to say crook, but they don't really know what they're doing.
Well, I mean, when you're entering any field for the first time, you should look to how it's done by the people who know what they're doing, right? Now, there's some good organizations. One of them is the Alliance for Independent Authors. Okay, and they're commonly known as Ally, and they have a watchdog list that tells you who the good people in the industry are and who the not so good people are. And we've been with them for 10 years, and we are rated an excellent partner member. And they keep track. If they get complaints about someone, they post it on that watchdog list, and they let people know that you're taking a chance if you work with this company. So that's a hugely helpful resource. In the United States, you can look at the Better Business Bureau and see if the company you're considering has complaints filed against it. Some of my competitors will display the Better Business Bureau logo on their website, but if you actually check them out at the Better Business Bureau, you'll find out they have a lot of complaints. So just seeing that logo isn't enough. You should check and make sure that the company is A+ rated or highly rated by
Yeah, I
the
guess
customers who have used them.
the advice is check out the reputation of whoever you're considering working with and see what's the word out there about them. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you can also Google the company name and Google their name plus complaints.
Yeah.
And that will bring up the people who are
Thank you so
complaining
much for
about
that
them.
recommendation.
That's
I
another
mean,
good way
we're
to
talking
do
about
it.
publishing books, but what you just recommended is something I'm going to be adopting for other areas of things. Wow. Wow, that's genius. Oh, thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah.
We were talking about publishing books, and you've worked with over 4,000 authors. You help them publish like pros. Has there been a time when an author they did a terrible job at publishing their work, and I mean a terrible design, a terrible manuscript, like terrible in the sense that there was no editor to actually rewrite and do all those things, and they then republished the already published book? I don't know if that makes sense. Have you ever worked with an author like that?
Well,
Okay.
can you
Okay,
explain
let me use
that a
myself
little
as an
bit more? I
example.
don't think I followed
Let's say
what you said.
I've self-published my work already, right? I did a terrible job at it. The design is terrible. The editing of the work is terrible. And I'm like, I just feel like I did a terrible job at it, right? 2 years after, maybe 3 years after, and I'm like, okay, I've seen someone who's an expert at this self-publishing thing. They know what they're doing. I mean, I've checked out the word out there, and the people they've worked with, they give good review about them, and they're pretty much good at it. And I feel like I failed the self-publishing, and I really want to like revive the work. I really want to republish the work and bring it to life. Have you worked with authors like that, where you take the book work, re-edit it, redesign it, and republish and relaunch it, and then it's a different work entirely. Does that make sense?
Yes, we've done that a few times. You might want to, if it's a nonfiction book, you might want to change the text up a little bit and call it a second edition and give it a new ISBN so that you pretty much break every
Yeah,
link there is to the old edition. And then once the new edition is available for sale, then you can actually take the old edition that you're not proud of out of
yeah.
circulation and mark it as out of print so that nobody can buy it. Yeah, we've done that a few times, but most of the time people come to us with a manuscript that they've been working on for a really long time, and they're just finally ready to release it to the world. They can't. The phrase they use is, "I can't look at this one more time." So
Uh,
let's publish it.
wow. Okay. For readers, we're celebrating National Reading New Book Month. How can how can we support indie authors and self-published works?
Well, definitely uh, buy indie books, right? Don't always look for free. Actually, the authors depend on you to buy the book in order to make a living, in order to get paid for their writing. So, um, if you can, I know most of the authors we work with would love to have your reviews. So take a few minutes and post a review if you enjoyed that book. It
Yeah.
means the
Wow.
world to the
Thank you so
author.
much, Michelle. Um, where can listeners connect with you and also learn more about 1106 design? This time I pronounced it completely. Wow. Yeah.
You
And
did.
I noticed there's something
That's
you
perfect.
free guide you offer to authors called Publish Like the Pros. Where can we get a copy of that?
That's correct. You can find out all about us at 1106design.com, and you can download a free copy of my book, Published Like the Pros, by signing up for our newsletter. And you can actually buy a copy there if you also want to buy it without signing up for the newsletter. Either way is fine. I hope you read it either way. Because we get complaints all the time from authors. We speak to authors who have had their hearts broken and have been really abused by the bad people in the industry. And so I hate to see that happen. I want every author who has poured their heart and soul into a book to have a great experience and
Yeah,
to
wow.
make that book the
Thank you so
best it
much,
can be.
Michelle. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. I feel enlightened uh and prepared. What's the word? Prepared for when I eventually write my book and have it. Like, yeah, I remember I had a conversation with Michelle. She did say this. Wow, thank you so much. That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.